that used to have a stovepipe going through it. Some snacks that I'd never tasted. They didn't want to share it with me. They just wanted me to go to bed. It was so hard. I felt so unwanted. I felt so unloved. It's a hard hoe. And my dad was gone. We never wanted him to come home. We were all fearful of him when he'd come home because he was so abusive, not just to us kids and especially to me, maybe sometimes because I deserved it, but especially to my mom. He was a bad guy. And I remember one night, my brother and I shared a large room just outside of their bedroom. And I remember my dad abusing my mom so that she cried so much. And my sister came out of her room and I said, "We have to phone the police." We ran downstairs in our bare feet and went out and phoned the police. And then we went outside and stood in the snow waiting for the police to come because we were so afraid of what might happen. And the police came that night and told my dad, "If you lay another finger on your dear wife, you'll pay for it." That's the kind of guy he was. So here I am growing up. No relationship with my dad. Never remember sitting on his knee. Never remember him holding my hand. Never remember playing a game or anything that you might do with your dad. And my mom was too busy. She had 2 jobs because he supported other causes in his life. And my mom she worked in a grocery store. She spent her whole wage just on groceries. I used to see her coming up the street on a Saturday night from work crying because she wasn't bringing home hardly any money whatsoever. It was not easy for her, and it wasn't easy for any of us. And I had to learn how to fend for myself. I had 2 jobs at the age of 10 to put clothes on my back. So you're not only unwanted, you're not only unloved, but you're not cared for the way that you ought to be cared for as a young boy. My oldest brother was 12 years older than I was, so when I was 6, he was 18, and he joined the army. And he wasn't brotherhood or whatever. So here I am, alone. It's not easy. And one that I just tried to process it. And I thought about it for a long time. And I didn't do very well. I thought maybe it's a normal thing. Maybe it's a boy thing. Maybe it's okay. It was probably a little bit more attention than I've ever had. So you misconstrue it. You're not sure about it. It's hard to handle. But what did I do? I'll tell you what I did. I put it under the carpet. I tried to dismiss it. You see, that's what you do when you can't handle something. You kind of hope it'll go away. You don't do much, if anything, about it. So you try to process it. And it's not easy. And I just put it under the carpet and thought it would go away. And it kind of did go away because I was able to get occupied with other things. In fact, when I was 14 years old, it was amazing. We went to this little Baptist church as a family. My mom insisted that we all go, and we went, except for the odd time that my dad wouldn't let us go. I remember one Sunday morning, get this. I remember one Sunday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, he got us all out of bed and made us all line up at the foot of his bed and just stand there and wait. So we couldn't go to Sunday school. That's how bitter he was and how difficult he was. He'd do anything to hinder us and to cause us grief. But many times we did go to Sunday school, and when I was 14 years old, I trusted Jesus as my personal Savior. I got to tell you, that was the most incredible thing I ever did. I now had a Father. I had someone who loved me. I had someone who cared for me. I had someone who was going to reach out to me and give of his grace and his goodness. And I was so happy. In fact, when I went to school, I would take my Bible with me to school, and I'd put it under my arm like that. And I'd walk up and down the hall, and I'd show everybody that I was a Christian. I was so happy. I was so glad that I had God and I had Jesus in my life that I just wanted to show it and let people know about him. I got involved in young people. I got involved in Youth for Christ. I was so active in everything. It didn't matter what we did or what they did. I was always there ready to do it. It was a whole new way of life for me, and I wanted it so bad. And I grew in my relationship with God in a real way. And as I got a little older, in high school and graduated from high school, and then I got a job in the food industry. And I was working in this, this is kind of cute. I was working in this little grocery store in the town that I lived in. And guess who else worked in the store? My mom. She was the head cashier, and I was eventually the manager. So guess what? My mom had to answer to me. I had to tell her what to do. That was fun. Not really. But we had a good relationship, and it was so neat that I worked in that store. And as I worked in that store, I worked so hard. That's one thing I know, is how to work hard. I've always been a hard worker. Wanted to work really hard to get ahead. And I worked so hard in that store that the owner of that little store decided he'd just go off for the summer and I could look after the whole store. And I was only like 19 years old. I didn't go to university. But while I was working in that little store, do things a little better and a little different and so on, you must be doing something right. You know, you're not, you're taking off for the summer, but, you're very productive and very profitable.